It is Dynasty Rookie Draft season, and I'm here with my wide receiver rankings with film. I know a lot of people haven't seen a lot of film on the rookies. A lot of people are looking at just the stats, so I want to show you some film in this video alongside my rankings and, of course, the stats behind these guys and their new landing spots. So let's just start right at the top. The number one wide receiver for me in Dynasty Rookie Drafts is the same wide receiver that was taken first in the NFL draft, and that is Carnell Tate going to the Tennessee Titans with the fourth overall pick in the NFL draft. I think this is a wonderful landing spot. Right away, the Titans offer a ton of target opportunities for Tate, probably a lot more than he even had in college, sharing the field with Jeremiah Smith. Cam Ward at quarterback didn't have an exceptional rookie season, but really looked solid on the back half of the season once that coaching staff had some turnover there, and Cam Ward really seemed to get comfortable. Over his last 4 games, he had an 8-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I expect that kind of progress to continue into year 2, especially with better weapons around him now with Carnell Tate here. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of competition for targets in Tennessee still for Carnell Tate. Malachi Manor looked okay last year as a rookie. They brought in Wan'Dale Robinson this past offseason. Not exactly a dominant target in any offense, so I don't think he will interfere with Tate's target share whatsoever. Something I'm really excited for too is that Tate and Ward are a perfect match stylistically. Tate excelled on these deep balls in college, had a very high ADOT, had a high yards per reception, one of the best in or highest in college football last year, and that's something that Ward can do. He didn't have the weapons to push the ball downfield at a great level last year, but now Tate offers that to him again. I think it's something that we're going to see them connect on quite a bit this year and throughout their careers. Add in that Brian Daboll's here as the offensive coordinator, and he has had success with these big arm quarterbacks and some downfield threats. We saw last year with Jackson Dart some of those opportunities, and obviously back when Daboll was with the Bills and Josh Allen. And really, Carnell Tate is just a very good prospect. I have him in that same tier as Ted McMillan from a year ago. He is just that good. You look at his statistical profile, obviously didn't have the target share, the high level of targets receptions that you see with some other prospects, but that's because he was playing with Jeremiah Smith, someone who's been dubbed a generational prospect for Ohio State there, will likely be a top 5 pick himself next year in the NFL draft. You look at it though, he was among the top players in college football in yards per route run and touchdowns despite that lower volume. Really just showing off his dominance, not to mention his contested catch rate. I think he had 11 contested catches out of 12 opportunities. Like, he just brought in everything thrown his way. Tate has elite hands, elite tracking down the field. We are going to see great things out of Tennessee this year, I think, somewhat unexpectedly. All right, my second ranked player also in this tier that I think will be going early in the first round of rookie drafts is Jordyn Tyson. He went 8th overall to the New Orleans Saints. While he doesn't project to have the same dominant target share as Carnell Tate because he's going to share the field with Chris Olave, I think this overall offensive environment is going to be very good for Tyson. I like Tyson as a prospect. Might have had him a little bit below Makai Lemon and Carnell Tate as a prospect coming in, but with this draft capital at 8, this landing spot specifically with Kellen Moore as the play caller, I'm very excited for what Jordyn Tyson can do. Now, quarterback Tyler Shough, the other rookie quarterback here, he didn't have an elite rookie season. No one's going to be incredibly blown away by his rookie season, but it was solid through and through. Well, he did struggle to get into the end zone. He finished right in the middle of most passing statistics over the season: passing yards per game, interception percentage, yards per attempt, and even finished top 10 in completion percentage. You're not looking at an elite quarterback play here with the Saints for Tyson, but definitely good enough. And it's really this Kellen Moore offense that I am excited about. Kellen Moore has had great offenses every stop along the way in his career, dating back to the Cowboys, with the Eagles last year, a couple of years ago, and really made this Saints offense look passable last year with no weapons around. After Olave, there were no other wide receivers on the field that really deserved to be starting in the NFL. Juwan Johnson had a good season, their tight end. But adding another pass catcher like Tyson of that ability, I think is going to really unlock this offense. If you're really worried about Tyler Shough as the quarterback for the future for Tyson, two things happen here. Either this is a good season, we see a year two improvement from him, or he face plants, crashes and burns, and this team is looking at a top pick in a much deeper 2027 QB class, and that QB situation could be solved moving forward. On to the number 3 wide receiver, and this rounds out my first tier of those early rookie draft picks at the wide receiver position, and this is Makai Lemon. Went 20th overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was pretty much tied with Tate for me as the top prospect coming into the class. I knew with that kind of a profile, a bit more of a smaller build, that he'd probably go a little bit later in the first round. The 20th is maybe a little later than I anticipated, more around that Rams pick, around 13 was where I'd expect him to go, but 20 is completely fine. I think a couple years back, JSN went 20th overall. Not bad draft capital. Makai Lemon with the Eagles is not an ideal landing spot. We do expect A.J. Brown to be on the move this offseason, but still Devonta Smith, also Dallas Goedert, a good tight end coming off a good season, and Eli Stowers added to that team as well in this draft. All that being said, Makai Lemon is a great talent. That JSN comp is getting thrown around a lot, and I think justifiably so. Similar type of players, a little bit smaller of builds, but absolutely electric on the field. Both going 20th overall to situations where they might be behind some incumbent receivers there. I don't see a reason that Lemon can't differentiate himself in this offense and become even the top wide receiver for this team. I don't think Devonta Smith is insurmountable in that wide receiver 1 slot. More concerning to me and why I have him at 3rd here and not ahead of Tyson is that Jalen Hurts hasn't really shown a lot as a passer, especially last year. Took a big hit in those passing categories, drop down after that great season with Kellen Moore. They are calling plays. Another change at offensive play caller here this season. Hopefully that will spur some better things in this offense. Maybe Makai Lemon, a different kind of weapon here for Hurts. But that does limit somewhat this overall passing attack and therefore Lemon's productivity this year. You look at just Lemon though, great prospect, Biletnikoff Trophy winner this past season with USC, the best college wide receiver, among the leaders in all FBS receivers this past season in most stats, touchdowns, receptions, missed tackles forced. It goes on and on. Lemon is clearly a dynamic threat after the catch. He gets open, and he will continue to do so at the NFL level. Now, this next player, 4th in my rankings, I went back and forth on whether to include him in the first tier or to drop him into the second tier. I'm going to call this a halfway tier. I consider this the middle of your first round of rookie drafts, and in that slot, I have Casey Concepcion. Absolutely dynamic receiver, somewhat similar to Makai Lemon, that once the ball is in his hands, he can do amazing things. Very quick, very shifty, gets open well, plays well on the outside and on the inside. And he went in the first round of the NFL draft, 24th overall, to the Cleveland Browns. Now, most people think the Cleveland Browns not a great landing spot. I don't necessarily agree. I think there's going to be a ton of target opportunities here in Cleveland. While Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson maybe don't inspire any confidence for me. Like I said with the Saints, there is a good 2027 quarterback class incoming, or at least better than we saw this past season. and I expect the Browns to be probably the front runners for that number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. If they walk away with a top quarterback from that class, I think pairing them with Casey Concepcion, with that target volume he could command, and he is a target earning type of player, then we could be looking at a very high ceiling for fantasy football purposes. Now, Denzel Boston was also added in the draft to this team just in the second round, and we will talk about him shortly. I don't think that he is nearly the kind of target earner that Concepcion is. I see a high ceiling with Boston long term, but definitely in the short term, I see him more as a someone that fits a role on the outside, more of that go ball, sideline, boundary kind of receiver. All right, moving on to this next tier, these are the guys that I think are solid prospects, maybe have a hole or two in their games, and I expect to be going in the late first round of rookie drafts. That's where I have them ranked. I will just say that this is not the strongest class. That's not a secret to anyone at this stage, but wide receiver is the strength of this class. I don't think the wide receiver class looks very bad at all when you compare it to other classes. With my 5th wide receiver here in my rookie rankings, I have Omar Cooper Jr., the other first round NFL draft wide receiver who went to the Jets late in the first round. That first round draft capital means a lot for wide receivers. You are going to involve them in the offense early. You are going to give them every opportunity to succeed after spending that draft capital. And I think the Jets will do exactly that. Now, Cooper's ceiling is absolutely limited with Garrett Wilson on the field. Garrett Wilson is a target hog. He deserves the targets. He gets open. He catches everything thrown his way. So I don't expect Cooper to have the same ceiling as maybe even some other guys in this tier, but I do think he has the talent, the draft capital, and even the situation as the number 2 here to do good things for fantasy, even if the ceiling's a little bit lower. Now, a very versatile player, Cooper here. Good size, about 6 foot, a little over 200 pounds. Played out of the slot last year with Indiana, has played out wide previous to that. Can definitely do both, something that will be very valuable to his play callers here in the NFL. What really sets him apart, or set him apart last year in college at least, was his ability to make players miss. His change of direction, his strength, his speed. He had a great combination to make guys miss once the ball was in his hands. That's a role I think he could very much thrive at in the NFL as well with the Jets here. Now, I know the Jets, everyone's going to be worried about the Jets. Again, sounds like a really bad landing spot. I'm not super high on the Jets, but I will say Geno Smith could be a serviceable quarterback. We saw what he did with Seattle for a few years there. Led some decent teams. Was not a world-changing quarterback by any means. Not a franchise quarterback, but he absolutely can do enough. Last year with the Raiders, that offensive line, no one was going to succeed behind. So I would not put too much stock into what happened with Geno last year, and I think we could see a better version this year with the Jets. Well, Kenyon Sadiq being taken also in the first round by the Jets is a little concerning for targets going to Cooper. I think Cooper's going to have an easier time acclimating to the NFL game. I think he's a little bit more polished than Sadiq is coming in. Sadiq, freak athlete, but absolutely tight ends can usually take a little bit longer, and I think Sadiq even more so because of how raw he is coming into the NFL. Next up at number 6, in the same tier, I have Antonio Williams. Now, in most classes, a third round wide receiver, probably not going to be considered in the first round of rookie drafts. It's generally a weaker class. You don't have a whole lot of running backs or quarterbacks to take in the first round. So I think Antonio Williams does sneak into that first round consideration for me. And this is mostly off the back of his landing spot. I like Antonio Williams as a prospect, a great route runner, plays big for his size out of the slot, a tough guy at the catch point. I like all of these things in his game, even if his final season at Clemson was a little marred by some injuries that he had and just general poor play from this offense as a whole, putting a damper on his numbers. If you look back at his 2024 numbers, they look much better, and you can see why he was considered a very valuable prospect coming into this draft. But it's the landing spot, right? The Commanders, and this is not just me as a fan saying this, the Commanders don't have a wide receiver 2 on this roster. They brought back Dyami Brown, role player as that outside boundary wide receiver. And I think he has a good connection with Jayden Daniels as well. But Antonio Williams offers something different. Someone underneath to play, to get open for these quick passes. And this quick passing attack is something that new offensive coordinator David Blau is expected to really implement. We have a great wide receiver 1 on the outside in Terry McLaurin, which will help take away coverage from someone like Antonio Williams and really allow him to succeed in one-on-one opportunities. Add in a great young quarterback in Jayden Daniels, and I think Antonio Williams has not only a very high floor in this offense, but has enough of a ceiling that I am happy to take him at the end of the first round over maybe some 4th or 5th round running back prospects. Now, my last player in this tier, and someone that I would take at the very back of the first round, maybe early into the second round of my rookie drafts, is Denzel Boston. Also taken by the Browns early in the second round for him. Boston, like I mentioned before, I think he's more of a specialty type of player early in his career. Didn't have a great broad route tree in college, but did absolutely wonderfully on these deep contested catches, these goes balls on the sideline. Didn't get great separation, but like I said, in those contested catch situations, those end zone lobs, was very good in college. I expect him to take on that type of role early in his NFL career, but he absolutely has the fluidity in his game to evolve as a player, become a better route runner, and have that ability to win at all levels of the field rather than in more of a specialized way. That being said, I have him down here because early in his career, I don't expect that to show out on tape or in the fantasy box scores. When it comes to long-term potential, though, I think Denzel Boston has as much as anyone in this class. He has that type of a ceiling. It may not be the most likely outcome that he hits on that potential, but he's definitely worth taking a flyer at the end of the first round in a weaker class, just in case he does hit that potential and becomes really just a top wide receiver in the NFL. All right, down to my next tier. I think that this is the spot where you're looking at second round rookie picks in this draft class. And the top one I have in this class is more a personal flag plant in this scenario because he doesn't have the draft capital to be taken here, and that's Elijah Sarratt. Taken in the middle of the 4th round by the Baltimore Ravens. He was actually the second wide receiver selected by the Ravens in this class. He fits this team and what it needs, especially for fantasy purposes. And he was so good in college. Now, older prospect, not the most athletic in the world, isn't going to blow anyone away with his speed. And that's why I think he fell this far in the draft. That being said, I absolutely see a role that he can carve out with the Ravens as a starter on the outside that's very fantasy relevant. And we're not talking about the ceiling outcome here, but I do think he has a very good chance of being a productive fantasy asset. Now, the wide receiver 2 last year for the Ravens was DeAndre Hopkins with 22 receptions for 330 yards on the season. Hopkins is gone. Isaiah Likely, one of their top receivers, is also gone. There's just a whole lot of available targets in this offense. Now, a down season last year from the offense as a whole, but specifically the passing offense. Lamar Jackson is coming off the previous year, a 4,000 plus yard season passing, plus 40 plus touchdowns. He had an amazing season. We've seen what he can do in the passing game. I think that once you add this Jacoby Lane, the other wide receiver they took, and Elijah Sarratt, I think that fills out this passing attack quite a bit. If you haven't seen Sarratt, an absolute amazing back shoulder catch kind of guy, physical player at the catch point. Uh, like I said, not the extreme athlete out there like other guys in this class, but absolutely a solid kind of receiver that quarterbacks can feel comfortable throwing the ball to. Fernando Mendoza definitely felt comfortable throwing him the ball at Indiana. Across the FBS season, across the entire college football season, Sarratt ended with the most touchdowns, 15 touchdowns through the playoffs on that national championship run, and was just absolutely deadly in the red zone. That's something that I think he will bring to the NFL, to the Ravens, and something they sorely need because their only top receiver right now is Zay Flowers, and at like 5'7", 5'8", he is absolutely not a red zone threat. That's just somewhere that he hasn't shown any gains in his NFL career. Normally, you'd be looking at Mark Andrews as that red zone threat for the team, but we saw last year a heavy regression from Andrews, even with likely not getting a huge target share. Andrews still wasn't really able to differentiate in this offense. I think the days of Mark Andrews being a top receiving tight end in the league are past us now, and I think that Sarratt would fill in very well as that red zone threat this season. Let's move on to my 9th ranked player here, and that is Chris Brazzell, the wide receiver drafted to the Carolina Panthers in the 3rd round. Brazzell, I absolutely loved in college, came from that Tennessee offense that's a bit weird for fantasy purposes. They run a bit of a weird offense, not an NFL-style offense, and that can kind of skew the results of what we see coming out of that program. Now, Brazzell's stats may be a little bit inflated because of that, but watching him on film, it's very clear that this is a fluid, moving receiver with good athleticism at 6'4" or 6'5". Just a great frame for a guy that moves as well as he does. And did I say great athleticism? Because this is a sub 4.4 40 kind of player that he ran at the combine alongside that size. That's exactly what you want coming into the NFL. Now, I don't know that his route running is absolutely refined at this stage. I think there's still some work to do there, but he has the fluidity to absolutely be a all levels of the field threat. There's also opportunity here with the Panthers. Xavier Legette did not impress this past season, kind of lost his job midway through the season, and I think Brazzell's being brought in to fill in on that second outside spot across from Ted McMillan. Jalen Coker has a lot of fans in the community, a very good wide receiver. I think that the Panthers plan to use him more out of the slot, and that would make a lot of sense with Brazzell here filling in on the outside. Even if Brazzell isn't a day one starter, even if year one for him starts a little bit slow, I think that long term he has great potential in this Panthers offense. And you're getting him in the 2nd round of your rookie drafts. I think in this class, there is no risk taking this kind of player here. Now into 10, I have Malachi Fields taken by the New York Giants. The Giants don't have a whole lot of receiving options after Neighbors. Obviously brought in likely this year, but on the outside, Darnell Mooney is the only other addition. Slayton at this point has had enough chances, hasn't really taken the opportunities given to him, and that's why I think a couple extra wide receivers have been brought in here. Now, I'm not saying Fields is guaranteed to be the starter on the outside across from Neighbors. Is probably less likely, especially early in the season. I think Darnell Mooney takes that role. But Fields offers something a little different. While Mooney's that smaller guy that can get down the field and beat guys, Malachi Fields is someone that can just body defensive backs. 6'4", 218 pounds, an absolute great size at the wide receiver position. And he projects to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities outside because he's got Malik Neighbors on the other side. Add in Jackson Dart and that arm, and we could see some big connections. Now, maybe he's a guy that's better for best ball than he is a consistent producer at the NFL level, but I still think that this Giants offense has the potential to break out to be a great offense in the NFL. And if that's the case, we are going to see a good number 2 wide receiver on this team, and I think Malachi Fields has the potential to be that long term. Once you're at this part in your rookie drafts, you're probably not looking at anyone that has that wide receiver 1 on the team potential anyways. At least that's not a likely scenario. So being beside Neighbors gives Fields the opportunity to have that gravity taken away from his side of the field. Next up, we have Ted Hurst here, 11th overall in my rankings. Ted Hurst is someone who wasn't really on my radar through the college season, but watching some film recently on him, and he is a great athlete. Again, a big, fast guy. These skills that go together so well at 6'4", running a 4.42 40 at the NFL Draft Combine. The problem here with Hurts, as you'll see, he has great stats in college, some of the best in this class, but it came against such a lower level of competition than the other guys we see playing at these Power 4 conference schools. Ted Hurst playing at a much smaller school against much weaker competition, so we're not really sure how this is going to translate into the NFL. There's plenty of cases of guys looking good against bad competition, flaming out in the NFL. Then you have on the other side guys that do the exact opposite thing. Like last year, I know as a tight end, but Harold Fannin from Bowling Green put up ridiculous numbers against bad competition and then look great in the NFL as well. It absolutely can happen. And on film, you see with Ted Hurst a lot of great skills. Something I'm also excited about is this Buccaneers offense. Down year last year, I think we're going to see a bounce back this season. Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. Mike Evans now has left the Buccaneers, so a great opportunity for Ted Hurst to come in and really compete with Jalen McMillan for that X-wide receiver role. And I see no reason that Hurst can't beat out McMillan at some point this season for that X-wide receiver spot. All right, off to my last wide receiver in these rankings in this tier, and someone I'd be targeting later in the second round of your rookie drafts, and that's Germie Bernard. I like the prospect, good player, well-rounded, but doesn't wow me in any area on film. Never really broke out in a way at volume with Alabama this last season. And it's something that I was never super excited about Bernard. I know that it's not likely you're going to get him late in the second round of drafts with him being a mid-second round selection in the NFL draft. But that being said, I just don't like this landing spot either. The Steelers quarterback situation is very up in the air. Aaron Rodgers has at most one season left, and even that we don't know. If he does play, this team's probably not bad enough to get a top pick in the draft, so we might be in this quarterback purgatory situation for a few years with Pittsburgh. Add in that Michael Pittman is now on the team to join DK Metcalf, and there's really not a great opportunity for him early in his career. If one of those guys go down, I think Bernard is a perfect kind of player to fill in, put in enough production to help the team, but I never see any fantasy upside for Bernard. I'm sure he will be in flex spots at some points through his career on your fantasy teams, but that's not someone I really want to take in my rookie drafts, someone that doesn't feel like they have that ceiling. Those are my wide receiver rankings, your Dynasty Rookie rankings so far. We're going to do some more positions as we go here, so keep us in mind when you're getting ready for your drafts. Lots of other content too. Go ahead and comment below if there's any type of content you feel is missing right now on YouTube. We're a smaller channel. We like to work with our audience, so let us know what you are looking for, and we'd love to incorporate that into our content.